Good morning. Welcome to my cup of Joe watch time hours. Trying to get some watch hours, y'all. Come on in, come on in. About to get my cup of Joe. Gonna watch a little morning news, little morning Joe.
Immigration enforcement tactics testified at Capitol Hill at a forum yesterday. No Republicans attended the hearing. Those who spoke included the brothers of Renee Good, the Minneapolis woman fatally shot by an ICE officer last month. They described deep grief and frustration that their sister's death has not led to meaningful change despite national outrage.
In the last few weeks, our family took some consolation thinking that perhaps Nay's death would bring about change in our country, and it has not.
Other witnesses included a Chicago woman shot several times by a Customs and Border Protection officer last fall during a protest. Democratic Congressman Robert Garcia shared text messages from the officer who shot her.
Ms. Martinez, these are images of texts sent by the agent who shot you. And they're actually disturbing to read, but I think it's important for the public to see this. The agent linked an article about your shooting and texted, read it. 5 shots, 7 holes. I fired 5 rounds and she had 7 holes. Put that in your book, boys. Oh well, it is what it is. It happens. This is someone that works for the United States government. I fired 5 rounds and she had 7 holes. Now he was talking about you, and it's our understanding that he was actually bragging about his aim shooting an unarmed American citizen. Is that right?
Correct.
Gunning down unarmed Americans in the street. Let me say that again. A paramilitary type force has been created by the DHS that guns down Americans in the streets of America. And here, an unarmed woman, American citizen, shot 5 times, left with 7 bullet holes in her. And what are they doing? They're bragging about it. The shooter brags about it on text, saying,
Good morning, Joshua.
5 times, fired 5
You're
rounds, and
first,
7
yes.
bullet holes in her, and then brags about it to his other. This is so beyond control. This would never be permitted. I plead with Republicans who still think this is okay.
Or turn away.
I plead with evangelical Christians
Cup
who
of Joe
are among
watch
some of
hour.
the biggest supporters of this sort of savagery on the streets of America. What would Jesus do? Not this. Not even close. Other people celebrating in the media are mocking or ridiculing the shooting of these American citizens in the street, gunning them down, and nothing apparently is changing. We're going to continue taking you through what happened yesterday on Capitol Hill, but then we're going to show you what's still happening in Minnesota with these Keystone cops that haven't been trained, that are killing Americans in the street and continue drawing their guns. It's crazy. And, you know, Mika, they will present charges, and federal judges, one after another, will basically say, get out of my court. Stop wasting my time. And now, they're making the argument, lawyers on Capitol Hill, lawyers in the White House. The Fourth Amendment, what Fourth Amendment? We don't need judges to get involved. We can just kick down doors of American citizens. This is such an egregious breach of the most basic civil rights, constitutional rights of Americans. This is what the Republican Party, the small government party, was supposed to be against. This is what we fought against all the time. A creeping, growing federal government that could take away our property, that could take away our guns, that might even, I don't know, shoot us because we had guns. As the director of the FBI, as the Treasury Secretary, as the President of the United States, as Jeanine Pirro said a couple of days ago, if you come in to my district if you come to DC with a gun, I'm going to arrest you. What? In 2008, there was a case called Heller. It was the first time the Supreme Court said, the Second Amendment says what it actually means.
Yeah.
That Americans have a right to keep and bear arms, even in the District of Columbia. Jeanine Pirro says no. She tries to clean it up. No, not too late. Too late. You let us know in a press conference what you believe. Donald Trump, Kash Patel, Scott Bessent, these people are talking like left-wing freaks.
Do any of them, especially Ms. Pirro, remember January 6th?
Well,
A lot of weapons were brought into DC.
Well, and do they remember one state house after another state house after another state house where there were people that came with AR-15s and lined the halls of state legislature? Nobody shot them. The Biden administration didn't shoot them. And yet, a Republican administration is saying if you have guns, we have a right to kill you. If you legally have guns, we have a right to kill you. If you are in your house with your family, we have a right to kick the door down without a judicial warrant.
Good morning. This is Cup of Joe Watch Hour. Thank you for coming in. Please leave a like.
You're enjoying it, Johnny, so I'm going to say screwed up instead of the word.
I appreciate you.
You know how screwed up that is?
I mean,
That we have a federal government, and now, after they're taking over corporations, after they're taking over chunks of tech companies, after they're deciding what the hell they're going, what else they're going to take over, oil in foreign countries. Now they're saying they have a right to take away your guns or kill you if you're carrying a gun. They're saying that they have a right to kick down the doors to your house. If the DOJ writes on a piece of paper that they can, no, judicial warrants, Fourth Amendment, Second Amendment, First Amendment, Constitution. We Republicans just always carry around the
in
Constitution
the
in our pockets.
pockets, yeah, so.
And people make fun of us. I didn't care. I carried around the Constitution in my pocket. I was very proud to do it because I actually believed in the United States Constitution. I want to know how long Republicans are going to allow themselves to be pushed around and pushed away from basic constitutional principles. Like, for instance, states run elections, not the federal government. A person has a right to keep and bear arms. Yes, Jeanine, even in Washington, D.C., even at protests. But these judges, they have these people coming to court. They throw it out immediately because it is such an abuse of power by an ever-growing federal government that right now, by the way, has a federal debt up to $39 trillion. When I left Congress, it was $4 trillion. We balanced it 4 years in a row. Balanced budget 4 years in a row. $39 trillion. Biggest spending administration ever. Biggest deficits ever. Biggest federal debt ever. This government keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. There are Republicans on Capitol Hill doing nothing about it. They will pay at the polls. They just will. Because, as we always said, when we were fighting to balance the budget, if you give Americans a chance to vote for real Democrats or Republicans that are acting like Democrats, they'll vote for the Democrats every time. And I'm speaking now only to the big spending ways of this Republican Party. So, hey guys, you're just sealing your own fate. Wake up. Wake up. The First Amendment means what the First Amendment means. Second Amendment means what the Second Amendment means. The Fourth Amendment means what the Fourth Amendment means. And Nick, again, this is what judges are like, say, get out of here
Right.
with your stupid cases. Saying it to the government time and time again.
By the way, a federal judge later dismissed the DOJ's charges, to your point, against that Chicago.
What a surprise.
Also at the hearing, Aaliyah Rahman, a Minneapolis resident and U.S. citizen with autism and traumatic brain injury. She testified about how she was dragged from her car by immigration officers you see here during an enforcement operation. That incident was caught on video, which
Are you proud, Republicans? Are you proud of this?
disabled and she
Yeah,
is
good
trying
job,
to-
Republicans. Are you proud of this?
She said she was a citizen. She also said she was disabled, but nobody was listening to her.
On her way
They
to a
just
doctor's
wanted to
appointment.
rough her up.
On her way to a doctor's appointment. Good job,
She
Republicans. Are
was
you proud?
detained. She says she was denied medical care at the detention center and lost consciousness.
I was embarrassed.
Wow, these whew, these people don't stop. The ICE just don't stop. That is so crazy. They just don't stop. Unbelievable. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to my Cup of Joe Watch Our News. Man, there's just so much going on. So much. And the ice just haven't stopped. Continue with this craziness. I hope everybody's morning is blessed and everybody's fine. So let me hear from Afro Think Tank, because Nicki Minaj been in the news lately. Yeah, she been in the news lately.
What's going on, everybody? It's Afro Think Tank. Nicki Minaj got played by Donald Trump. I don't listen. I just want to say this. Nicki Minaj in no way represents the people of Trinidad or Tobago. Listen, Nicki Minaj is not a representation of anybody in Trinidad. Trust, she is not like at all. All right, at all. Okay.
At all.
But listen, she really thought, right, that all she had to do is strategically clean, and she was gonna get that goddamn citizenship, right? I mean, she probably thought she was gonna get the citizenship.
Hi, Sarah.
Her husband was gonna get
Your
shit.
second, hey.
Like,
Hi, welcome.
all in, right? She went all in, right? Thinking I'm gonna get Trump will clean all this shit up. Right?
Welcome to the Cup of Joe.
And
Watch
after
our
they
news.
used her, right? After she sold what was left of herself, because she had already sold out before that. Like, she already had disingratiated herself with America by being just an evil woman who would not let other females get on, just hating in general, right? She just a hater, right? There's nothing more satisfying than watching her get played by white supremacy. All right? Now, here's the thing. If she was smart, which we know she is not, so now I'm starting to question whether she wrote anything she ever wrote. I don't think she wrote any that she did. It must have been right, right? Because usually, people got lyrics. Usually got lyrics because they're intelligent enough to, write those lyrics, right? I don't think she is, right? If you ain't been paying attention, white supremacy, like poor white folks, all right, their cards, they've been swapping them shits. That shit's been expired. Matter of fact, that shit never worked. The plastic didn't have no information in it, all right? They got no QR code, right? They just got it on a memento, right? And if she was really paying attention to the election, because she said she loved Donald Trump, he's so great. Every black person that has cooned for Donald Trump has all been thrown under the bus,
Mhm.
right? Listen, every single black person, every one of them, 100% has been thrown under the bus after their usefulness has been expired, right? Nicki Minaj went up there, right, calling for Turning Point USA, who specifically used her as an example of terrible African American culture.
Oh.
Your name, your moniker is Nicki Minaj. That's already terrible, right? Terrible name, right? They hate you. Then they convince you to get up here so they can get all the clips. They wanted to get all the things. Look, we gonna pray this nigga around like a clown, right? And we all knew what was going to happen. We would just wait. Right? And they didn't. Donald Trump did not even wait. He didn't even wait, right? Because he got his own problem.
He didn't wait at
He
all.
ain't got time. Listen.
She thought that gold card was her citizenship. They was like, nope, that's just a memento. Welcome to the Cup of Joe Watch Hour News. Please leave a like, leave a like.
They gotta worry about themselves. They trying to expunge themselves. They ain't got time for you. Now, you were in proper company. Because all y'all in the same circle, y'all, all you, your brother, your husband, all y'all, Trump, all y'all, all the rich, all of that, all of them in the same, they love the same activities, right? But see, you don't, do you see how they got Diddy? Because he had the nerve, because we all know the only reason he got caught, because they, he tried to challenge one of the billionaires and, for the alcohol brand or whatever, right? So, oh yeah, motherfucker, right? And what you thought, you really thought, like, let this be a lesson to the rest of you guys. Now, y'all some still solid coons out there, but they ain't sticking their hand out like that. They ain't looking for that. They just trying to get their little ad revenue dollars. But she went all the way. Like, she went full, you never go full retard. Nicki went full retard. We gotta go with some names for her. Nicki Minaj ain't good. We gonna have to, she gonna get clapped. Like, that's it. She don't, no more music. We don't want to hear that shit. All right? You can't, nothing you do. You burn bridges on both sides, thinking that you was gonna get rescued by Donald Trump. Come on. Donald Trump throws everybody under the bus. He threw his friends under the bus. He threw his ex-wives under the bus. He threw his dead wife under the bus. He threw his kids under the bus.
Ooh.
Donald Trump will throw anybody under the bus every single time. Look, he ain't do it. Look, he could be in your face, but I don't even know you. That's his main thing, and he just did it to you. And then it's very satisfying because you deserve it. Nicki Minaj deserves everything that she gets. Everything. Every single thing. Hey, look, you know what would be even more funny? If they deport her ass back to Trinidad. Trinidad's nice. So I wouldn't have a problem. I would live in Trinidad. I would love to live in Trinidad. Trinidad's nice. So that's not actually a problem, right? So that's the thing. She got money, but she can't take her husband to Trinidad. That's right. She had to go solo because, he can't go nowhere. That's the problem. That's the problem. But yeah. In no way does Nicki Minaj represent the Trinidadian people or the Tobagoan people. No, she don't represent nobody but her dumbass self. All right. Anyway, that's all I gotta say. Is Afro Think Tank, learn something, teach something. I'm out.
My favorite thing about the Nicki Minaj news cycle is that she got played. The Trump administration played directly in her face. She posted a picture of the Trump gold card and said, "Welcome." Then she posted about how her citizenship paper is on the way and she's about to become a citizen. Well, if you guys are unfamiliar with the Trump Gold Card program, it is for high net worth individuals that if they invest $1 million or more into the American economy, they get this Trump Gold Card and they will be on fast track to be a permanent resident, then a citizen. Well, the White House came out and said, actually, let's pump the brakes. The gold card that Nicki Minaj got is not actually a Trump Gold Card. It's just a memento. It's a fake. So it doesn't mean anything. So she
Oh my goodness.
The fast track towards citizenship. This is coming from the girl who tweeted in 2018 that she came over from Trinidad and she was alone from her mother and she doesn't want to see kids separated from her mom. And she turned that page very quickly when it was time for her to cozy up to the fascist leader who's doing the same exact thing that she said she was against. So while you want to coon up and coon down and make videos with Katie Miller,
Woo.
conservative queen, they played in your face. They used you the same way they use the Latinos, the same way they use all coons. And you got played with because you're still a fucking immigrant.
Child, apparently she don't even have to wait till that man is no longer the president because they said that they do not know her. A White House official has came out and said that the card that Pink Wig was flexed in, making it seem like she got her citizenship for free. Okay, they said that that was a memento. Yeah, they gave Pink Wig a Pokemon card and said, "Make it enough."
Oh my
This is
goodness.
so crazy. It's all that shucking and jiving, lying on the internet talking about she got her citizenship, she's signing the papers right now. So why would somebody come out and say that? Then a Homeland Security agent doubled down and said that being that she's been a resident for the last 20 years, she was eligible for citizenship anyway, so she really didn't have to do all this. So that means, in my opinion, she's endorsing this man and supporting him because that's what she wants to do. Them people want to come out and say, you didn't even have to do all this. You was already, you could already get the citizenship. But leave it up to y'all. She's playing chess for a bigger agenda. Is the agenda in the room with us now? It was given that she's just showing her true colors and y'all refuse to believe that. Like, them people are disowning you, girl. Now what? Like, is she going to continue to openly support these people knowing she didn't really need them? Or is she going to keep buttering them up so that way they don't turn on her and deport her ass anyway? I'll keep y'all updated.
Wow, that is so crazy.
Number one, worst.
That is so crazy. I don't know why these people be cooning. Why do they do it? They just get thrown under the bus. Like they don't, people don't care nothing about you. Use you up and then discard of you.
Last statement that he made to the United States public when he was president said it was immigrants that kept us forever young, forever strong, always growing.
Also had the latest in the back and forth between the Clintons and the House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer, tied to the panel's Jeffrey Epstein investigation.
The Clintons are just coming. They're going to do this. They're just coming to meet Arnold the Pig. They have heard he is he's the best legal mind on
Sets
the
a
panel.
precedent for others to come forward, and we'll bring you a live report from London, where there is new fallout from the latest release of the Epstein files. We'll get to all of that. Good morning and welcome to Morning Joe. It's Wednesday, February 4th, and with us we have the co-host of our 9 a.m. hour, staff writer at The Atlantic, Jonathan Lemire, and the co-host of the Rest is Politics podcast, the BBC's Katty Kay. Good to have you all with us this morning.
Really, we have a lot we're going to be getting to today. I just want to clarify for our friends on Capitol Hill and on both sides of Pennsylvania Avenue, the Constitution, Article 1, Section 4, Clause 1. The Constitution, just in case there are any questions with Mike Johnson or Donald Trump or anybody in the Senate, and I don't think there is in the Senate, locals, the state governments, they run elections. It's black and white. It's in the United States Constitution. This has been the way it has always been in the United States.
Hey, Shawanda, good morning.
For our friends on Capitol Hill, Clause 1, Elections Clause, the times, places, and manner of holding
Welcome,
elections of
welcome.
senators and representatives shall be prescribed by each state.
It's my cup of Joe. Watch our news.
But the Congress may, at time, by law, make after such regulations, except for places of Cushing senators. So, if Congress wants to get involved and pass something, they can pass something. But it is the states who, at the end of the day, run this, not the President of the United States. And you have Steve Bannon saying they're going to swarm, ICE is going to swarm polling locations. No, they're not. No court's going to allow that to happen. And you have Mike Johnson actually playing into it. Mike Johnson, and they're saying, how you doing? Well, doing really well. We're going to win. When we project sometimes, you'll look and it'll say a candidate may be behind by a percentage point or two, and NBC or ABC or CBS will project the other candidate the winner because they know where the votes are all coming in from. This is such garbage and nonsense, but they keep doing it.
Speaker Johnson is a constitutional lawyer, we should point out. That was his practice.
Wow.
He deployed that
Oh,
skill
wow.
in the 2020 election to help overturn
Well,
it.
he's a
That's
coward
entirely different
anyway.
Conversation, but the point is, Speaker Johnson, of course, knows better. I think most, maybe not all, because we're familiar with some of the players here in Congress, but most understand what you just explained as we start the morning with civics class about the role of
the states about local municipalities in running elections for a reason. We don't nationalize elections. And you saw there, Donald Trump was very clear in that interview with Dan Bongino and then later yesterday about what he meant. The federal government should run the elections. Caroline Levitt did her best to try to turn the conversation, say, no, he's talking about the SAVE Act, which is voter ID. That is explicitly not what he was talking about. He made that clear when he came in on the other side of it. So Mike Johnson and others enabling as ever, no better here, but as you say, feeding what is a dangerous conspiracy.
Yeah, and we're gonna have, at the top of 7, I believe, Chris Christie. Chris and I had a conversation years ago where he said, starting in March, April of 2020, Donald Trump started fearing he was going to lose the election. So he started talking nonstop about how the elections were going to be ripped off, how he was going to be cheated. And we'll talk to Chris later, but he said it was really something that he was already planning ahead in early 2020, knowing that he was going to lose. He was already planning ahead to claim it was ripped off. And now with polls showing Democrats further behind than, or further ahead than ever before in the generic ballot test, Willie, he's doing the same thing again, saying the federal government should run elections. No, they should not. No president elected has ever said that. That has never happened, and it never will.
And he gives away the game, he just says it out loud, and then you twin that with the raid by the FBI in Fulton County, Georgia. You twin it with the request by the Justice Department that exchange for revised ICE tactics in Minnesota. We want your voter rolls. It all adds up to what you're describing here. Fear among Republicans, fear from the very top of the president that they might lose the election. And of course, maybe Donald Trump doesn't get it, but Mike Johnson and others understand that, yes, sometimes it takes a minute, and it's frustrating to all of us, and we've talked about ways to reform it, to count mail-in votes. So you might be behind when the polls close, or you might be ahead when the polls close, and you might still lose the election. They all know that. So why they're going along for the ride, for the benefit of the country, they shouldn't be doing it. But I understand that they want to stay close to Trump and stay close to power. And apparently it's worth giving all this away for that.
No.
I mean, I have said time and time again in following elections, and sometimes when I was sitting with the candidate himself, I'd say they'd be panicking, your absentee votes haven't come in yet. When they come in, you're gonna win those 4-1 and you're going to go ahead. This happens all the time. Again, Mike Johnson knows that. And the fact that he claims to be a constitutional lawyer and also claims, I would love to see the Bible he reads from, because he claims it. He's like driven by the Bible. That's his sort of philosophy in governing. No, it's not, Mike. No, it's not. Stop lying to the American people. Stop lying and stop letting the president say what he's saying. You're the number 3 ranking authority in the United States of America. You're number 3. You need to tell the president of the United States he's wrong. The Constitution, Article 1, Section 4, Clause 1 says states run it. The federal government does not. Into this now.
Speak the truth. All right, those are all great points, and we're going to get to more of this later. But to our other top story this morning, authorities in Arizona are continuing to search this morning for Nancy Guthrie, mother of Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie. The 84-year-old was last seen at her home near Tucson on Saturday night. Officials believe she was taken against her will in a possible kidnapping or abduction. Local police said yesterday they do not know where Guthrie is, but are pouring through hundreds of leads, adding they are aware of reports circulating about possible ransom notes. 2 news outlets say they have received apparent ransom messages, which are being investigated by law enforcement. At a news conference yesterday, the Pima County Sheriff said it is not yet known if Guthrie was targeted, and DNA samples taken from the home have not resulted in anything to indicate a suspect. He repeated pleas for help from the public, saying, please help us bring Nancy Guthrie home. Let's bring in retired FBI Special Agent Rob D'Amico. He was a member of the FBI's hostage rescue team, is an MS Now national security and intelligence analyst. So, go ahead.
Oh, well, thanks so much for bringing those up. Listen, I'm curious what your thoughts are. I've read over your notes, and you say something in there that I first said to Mika I was fearful of. We know nothing. Obviously, we know nothing about who the possible abductor may be. But I said to Mika early on, boy, that sure does sound like an inside job. It really, in every way, it does. And it seems as we've gotten further and further into this, and we found out that the cameras were disabled and other things happened, that it just may be. Is that usually your first thought when something like this happens?
When you see a crime scene like that, when you start analyzing it, that the cameras, multiple cameras were supposedly smashed, what knowledge did it take to do that, to understand? So when you're looking at the crime scene, how haphazard it was, how did they really gain access? Did they use a door that wasn't known about? Did they do something that indicated that they had prior knowledge? Anytime someone tells me, oh, my house was robbed, I always say, when's the last time you had a subcontractor in there doing work? Or who has access? Is it a healthcare worker? And it might not be that person, but it may be someone tied to them. A lot of these things happen, and turns out it was the person who worked there that had access to the house, and it was a boyfriend that was in financial trouble. They're also going to start looking at, unfortunately, family members who had access to this. And part of it is that there's starting to be a lot of leaks now, and you have to be really careful because the police are going down as they're trying to figure this out. They're also going down to eliminate who had direct access. So it may be that they're going down a route to just get someone out of it while they're still looking for it, and then police start leaking things that, oh, this is a prime suspect. You have to be really careful because sometimes they're just trying to eliminate things so that they can move on. But there are things that are coming out that her supposedly pacemaker disconnected from her iWatch and her phone at 2 a.m., which really narrows it down. Now they can follow leads on those times.
So, Rob, I think one of the frustrations from people on the outside is just this lack of information. Even at the press conference yesterday with the sheriff, there wasn't a lot of new information that we didn't know a couple of days ago, but that doesn't mean there aren't things happening behind the scenes. Can you speak to that from an FBI point of view about what they may know that they don't want to share for perhaps strategic reasons?
Absolutely, because we see this quote one ransom note that was sent to a local station, and then TMZ unfortunately came out nationally on it instead of just passing it behind the scenes, which now throws something else into it that the police have to deal with. So they say that in this note there were facts that from the scene and supposedly what she was wearing, but I don't even know if the police know what she was wearing. Little things like that, the police want to hold back so that when something does come in like a note, they can verify it, because if they start talking about something that's never been released that was in fact true, it gives them a clarification that this note or this person may have information, may have been there. We've had things where someone's come forward about a kidnapping overseas and we weren't sure about it, and they said a small tattoo in this exact place, and we knew right away that that person had actually seen that person. So little things like that they don't want to release. It doesn't add anything. I know everyone wants information, but it allows the police to really start sorting through this. Once this went viral, now you have all kind of, I call them sickos that want to come in with these notes and they want to help, and the police have to sort that out. So they don't want to give details away. They don't want the suspects to know what they know, but they also want to be able to verify certain things, proof of life. Things are going to come into play. If they in fact have her, should be able to answer questions that only she would know, or some type of picture. How did this note come in? I heard it was emailed. So they're going to run down those things, but it could be just something that distracts investigation.
Yeah, and we want to point out importantly, NBC News has not been able to authenticate that note. Even the FBI says so far it has not been able to authenticate it. So it remains open if there's anything to that alleged ransom note that came in. We've gotten so used to, Rob, in this day and age, because of cameras and social media, to these things being solved pretty quickly. That somebody saw something, or somebody's Ring camera, a neighbor said it was a suspicious car, or somebody posted something suspicious on Facebook, or they told something to a friend who came forward to police. Are you surprised by, at least publicly, the lack of information and leads that we have at this point?
There's two things I think that's preventing some of that. The lots in this neighborhood, I'm hearing, are 1 to 4 acres, which has a lot of separation. So a ring camera on a front door and lots that are that big may not see the street. The timing of the supposedly when it happened in the middle of the night, you obviously don't have as many people out. If the cameras in fact were smashed, there's two things that the police are now doing. The one, if they're physically smashed, they're looking for an SD card. Even if an SD card is broken, I know that FBI can take that SD card and still get data off it. But it's got to go back to Quantico. It's got to go back to the national level folks that do that sort of thing. They're also now engaging the company because a lot of times these are uploaded to the cloud. The problem is with the company, if it's uploaded to the cloud, they have to go through a bunch of things to get that. I always say, like, especially an elderly adult, share that account information with your siblings so that if something like this happens, you can access that account, you can download a video without having to wait for the process of a company trying to get it. Things like that happen. So they're looking for that. And again, it's one of those things that we're so used to it. And all these crimes, we start seeing all these ring cameras, the shooting in Massachusetts, they start looking at that. But in this neighborhood, it's a lot harder when there's that much spread between the houses and the access. You have cameras out there. I actually made sure I had cameras that were facing the street if anything happened, but that's very purposeful in looking at that, knowing that you got to get there by the street. So I'm not surprised when you start hearing the details of this that there's not as much flood of information coming in.
Rob, Savannah is somebody we all know personally, but of course she's also very well known right across the country. What are the challenges and the opportunities in terms of the investigation when you have somebody so well known as Savannah who's at the heart of this?
Well, one, you always want to get the public involved, but then sometimes too many people get involved. And then you also have, again, the crazy people out there that want to bring in notes or evidence that really doesn't come in, and you get all the psychics coming in. But I think in this one, the police really don't have many clues, and they want clues, but it also then starts all the information coming in. And now the FBI is involved, and they're used to cases that
Caesar Milan, turn your dog.
Wow, this lady is missing. Wow. Her daughter, what's it, a broadcast? I don't know if it's CBS, something, Guthrie. I don't know.
I want to start with you because I've always told people about a conversation we had. I think a conversation we had around the 2020 election where you said, I was talking to Donald Trump in March, April, and already back then, he was starting to play the game because he knew he was going to probably lose. And he started planting in your mind and other people's minds around him, this election's going to be rigged, this election's going to be rigged, because he knew he was going to lose. This is deja vu all over again, isn't it? In the words of Yogi Berra.
Well, he thinks in one respect, guys that worked for him then, because we're still having folks who believe that argue about the 2020 election today, for over 5 years later. And, he also, the other thing he did was kind of interesting, building off the point you were making, Joe, is that, he says, well, write-in votes and these late votes don't go his way. Let me tell you one of the reasons they don't go his way. Because back in 2020, when mail-in voting became more broadly available because of COVID, he repeatedly said over and over again to his supporters, don't vote by mail. It's crooked, it's rigged, don't vote by mail. And I can tell you that myself and other people around him kept saying, don't say that. A lot of your voters are seniors who are going to be afraid to go out to the polls because they're afraid to catch COVID. And so if they won't vote by mail because you say it's crooked, and the only people who do vote by mail are people who are voting against you, those numbers are going to be even worse. And I think that's a disease that still hasn't been corrected inside the Republican Party, that we still get smashed as Republicans on mail-in voting, in part, and I think large part, because Donald Trump conditioned a large section of our voters
to think that their votes wouldn't be counted. And so what I would say to them on that front is, doctor, heal thyself. You know, you caused a lot of this problem, and now you're trying to fix it by saying, doubling down on the idea that elections are gonna be rigged, and rigged in part because of mail-in voting, which just, it doesn't match the facts.
Chris, I don't know about you, but when I ran my 4 elections, I just absolutely wiped out Democrats in absentee voting, in mail-in voting. We focused on that and we crushed Democrats. We always knew we'd win, I don't know, 2-1, 3-1 in early voting. That's why what you're saying makes so little sense. The Republicans are now discouraging people from voting early. I mean, hell, I would get the list of absentee voters overseas. I didn't spend my nighttime, because I'm such a loser, I'd spend my nighttime calling them, going, hey, this is Joe Scarborough, thank you for your service. I'd love for you, if you get a chance, when you put your absentee ballot in, and we had people doing that all the time and focusing on that. And the fact that they're discouraging early voters just doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make electoral sense in any way. And so then when it doesn't, and it starts to go the predictable way, then you've got to come up with some other excuse as to why it isn't working for you. Look, in the end, one of the most important things in our country is people's perception of fair and free elections. It doesn't mean that you can always have to agree with the result. Plenty of times I haven't agreed with the result, but the fact is that you have to believe they're free and fair elections. And as you said before, and by the way, Joe, when that graphic came up, I was thinking the same thing you were, like, wow. Like MS now has parchment paper. This is the real deal, man. The parchment paper thing is serious, right? Like, I wouldn't have necessarily believed it if you had just put a regular graphic up there. But when you rip the parchment paper out, man, this is serious stuff. And the reason plays ball. Yes, Ian Madison came to play on that Constitution thing, and the other thing I'd say to you is to remind the president that the states are not an agent of the federal government. In fact, one of the things that was really argued about in the Constitution was the independent role of the states. And we are not agents as governors of the federal government in elections. We are the people placed in charge of the free and fairness of those elections by the Constitution and trusted by the people. So as much as some people might like to be Donald Trump's agent, I don't think the 50 governors see themselves that way.
Governor Christie, great to have you back on the show. Have you on
To
loan?
see you really in a shotgun? Look at you. Unbelievable.
Look at you. Look at you.
So you never age, Willie. Look at me. I'm old, but you never age. It's incredible.
It's the team in the back. They just somehow they whip us into shape at this hour. By the way, that parchment, it's the same thing I used to do at George Washington Middle School in Bridgewood, New Jersey. You light it on fire a little on the edges and make it look old. Yeah, we got it all figured out.
It's very nice.
Let me ask you, Governor, going back even a little bit further to your role as a U.S. attorney, we're talking about independence. The states are independent from the federal government. What about the independence of the judiciary under Pam Bondi as Attorney General? And we heard so much in the Biden administration from Republicans about the weaponization of government, the weaponization of the Justice Department. We're just seeing it out in the open. So how do we repair what's happening right now at some point down the line where you have a Justice Department just acting at the direction of the executive branch?
Well, Willie, look, this is the thing that of everything that's happened over the last year, it's the thing that disturbs me the most and cuts most personally to me. Because I can tell you that in 7 years in the George W. Bush administration, I never once got a call from the Justice Department or the White House for that matter about any particular matter they wanted me to investigate or not investigate, someone they wanted me to prosecute or not prosecute. What my boss, John Ashcroft, said to me was, we're hiring you for your judgment. Don't embarrass us. And that's the only instruction I ever got, was don't embarrass us, follow the law. And so, look, well, I think one of the things that may have to be considered by whoever the next president is, Republican or Democrat, is to appoint an attorney general of the opposite party. Because we need to restore people's faith in the fact but these judgments are made without regard to partisanship. And I can just tell you, we did 130 political corruption cases when I was U.S. Attorney in 7 years. We won all 130 of them. And they were about 60% Democrat and 40% Republican, because that's about what our state is. And so no one ever thought that we were playing games with the system. And we need to get back to that. And if we don't get back to that, it is the single biggest thing that distinguishes us from every other country in the world, is that we don't have our political apparatus controlling our administration of justice, or at least we didn't until about a year ago.
Hey, Governor Christie, it's great to see you. You're looking great.
All right, y'all. I'm going to start my day. Thank you all for coming in. Thank you for the likes. And we'll see you tomorrow. You all have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.